And hopefully now you've been able to come up with a thesis. If you don't quite have anything written down yet, hopefully you've got something to say about that essay. But before we tackle it, I'd like to know if you have any questions about that essay. And in asking questions about it, direct us specifically to page numbers if you have questions. So does anyone have a question? And you can put it in chat if your sound is not working, if you know that, for some reason, if you try to speak, that's going to cause all kinds of problems for you. You can plug that into chat, or you feel free to unmute and say something. Were there any questions? Matt? So after reading that, what is it that you're thinking? What kind of argument is it establishing, and do you have an argument about what it's establishing? Feel free to speak freely.
I think my thesis was kind of like the literary fiction improves like the understanding of human behavior, and I said kind of like through imaginary situations, creativity, and then my last one was kind of money, but I said like clear developed ideas because with social media you're constantly going through different things over and over again, kind of like a dopamine thing. But with books, it's kind of like you're reading this clear, like developed idea that's going all the way through, and you have time to stop and think about it and reflect on the book and humans and yourself.
Okay, sounds good. What does it mean to be anti-intellectual, and what is the significance of presenting that concept to us, to you, within an AP Lit class? Do you have any thoughts about that? No, go ahead.
I'm not totally sure that this is right, but I think anti-intellectualism is like you don't, you're against like learning more and challenging your viewpoints and just digging deeper into life.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly agree with that. Believe me, there's no right or wrong here in terms of that. And the concern would be being afraid to, no offense, and not that you were, but being afraid to say anything because you're not sure whether or not it's going to be right or wrong. being willing to share what your ideas are when asked a question, being willing to ask questions when unsure about something. You want to very much engage with your world as much as possible. And for example, I'm thinking about my daughter who's away at school, and there's going to be a lot. Well, given coronavirus right now, there's a lot of uncertainties about her world, and you have to be brave enough to be able to ask questions and figure out what the questions are that you need to ask. And if you don't know what questions you need to ask, you need to figure out who you need to go to in order to be able to find the answers that you need to find. For example, so she's in her dorm room, she's got access to her own bathroom. And in exploring the bathroom a little bit, making sure that all her faucets worked, that she was going to get hot water and cold water, and not rusty water, the toilet flushed, and that sort of thing. I discovered that the toilet seat was loose. And so, I told her, I said, you don't want to be, you don't want to find yourself losing your security deposit for your dorm because your toilet seat is loose. And so you need to figure out who you need to speak to about a loose toilet seat. And it is not anything that would have registered in her mind, but she then took the steps that she needed to take in order to be able to figure out, what do I do under the circumstance that perhaps my toilet seat just falls off completely. What do I do under those circumstances? So just, the asking of questions and the curiosity. Curiosity is so important. And it's going to be difficult in a lot of ways virtually. And why is it going to be, can anybody kind of express for me why I would say that? Why would I say that? Why is it going to be more difficult for us to express our curiosity and to reject anti-intellectualism given our virtual environment? Why will that be more challenging for us?
Well, even though we're all technically face to face, it's a lot easier to be anonymous when we're at home and not directly in front of you.
Absolutely.
So it's easier to sort of imagine that we're still at home and not really in a classroom.
Absolutely. And that's something that my wife sent to our daughter. You want to continue to respond, to react. I can hear them now. Yeah. Lisa fixed it for me. And she's going to come down during my third block prep, and we're going to try to see if we can figure out what the issue was. We ended up just having them log out and restart it.
Okay.
So thank you. Sorry. So the what was I going to say? Front row student. Being a front row seated student. Think about how your behavior changes if you're sitting in the back row of a corner, as opposed to sitting front and center. And so you want to treat this experience as if you are constantly sitting front and center, whether you've got your camera on or off. I've certainly have seen people, with their phones off to the side. It's pretty obvious that they're not necessarily engaging with what's happening. And I'm not necessarily going to be calling you out, and I don't know, what all is going on in your own life or what have you, but it's about, we're going to have some challenges here. And it's going to be harder to be where we want to be and to do the things that we want to do. So Noah's asked a question, is anti-intellectualism specifically tied into literature? And no, certainly not. So what is this notion of anti-intellectualism? The essay often talked about reading, but not a lot about what anti-intellectualism actually is. So the assignment, it was for AP Lit, and so it was bound to literature and the study of literature, and that was where the students' area of focus was. And so that's why it's got that particular focus. But it, by practicing it, it becomes part of our lives. Hopefully that makes sense. So a little cautionary tale, and actually two of them. So last year, the final book, and this year as well, the final book for you this year is planned to be The Hate U Give. And the immediate reaction might be, well, this is an advanced placement course. That's like young adult literature. Why would we be reading The Hate U Give? And there are a number of colleges and universities that are asking their students, believe it or not, to read The Hate U Give before arriving on campus. And so that indicates that there is a richness and a value to the text for beyond secondary education, for post-secondary education. So that's one example. We don't want to reject something because we have a preconceived notion about it. And the other kind of cautionary tale is that I had a student 2 years ago who moved into the district from another school, from a private school, and they were doing their research paper, their final research paper on kind of world building that occurs in literature. And I suggested in the student's rough draft, have you thought about exploring Minecraft? And the student responded in the rough draft to that comment, I thought that this assignment was for us to create a college course. And so if you would, for me right now, Google Minecraft college course. And if you could tell me then what you find, what comes up with that search. Does anybody think they might have something of that? What's that?
There's a coding class for Minecraft.
A coding class for Minecraft? Okay, and where?
University of California.
University of California, okay. Anybody find anything else? So there's
I thought a school of engineering.
a school of engineering?
Yeah.
Yeah, where at?
Like CMU. I don't know what CMU is.
That's Carnegie Mellon University.
Gotcha.
Carnegie Mellon University. That's the school where the emoji was discovered or created, established. And so to reject something because you don't think it fits is anti-intellectual. If somebody proposes something or suggests something, you've got to keep the open mind and be willing to explore things that maybe you're a little surprised that you're exploring. So let's take a look at, so first we've got this. So this is our AP Lit class, right? And this is, this is a meme generated probably by a disgruntled AP Lit student. In fact, there's a mean tweet out there about me saying, oh, I hate being in Mr. Coffey's AP Lit class because he's always talking about symbolism. And that's evidence that the student was not always paying attention. And Google AP curtains are blue. I'm not going to display that. So there's a shallow meme there. And again, the disgruntled AP Lit student that imagines that, AP Lit teachers are just making stuff up. But one of the things that you're going to be doing, and I'm going to step away for a minute. And we're going to talk about this throughout the year. It's going to be one of our exercises in the coming weeks. We're going to be working with this book, How to Read Literature Like a Professor. And there's going to be stuff that, we're going to encounter, and I'm going to say things pretty early on, and you're going to be like, what? No way. But eventually, and for many of you, this will be like, probably maybe late October, early November. It kind of depends on what's going on and how long we have to do virtual and that sort of thing. But things will start to click for you in ways that you never imagined very early on. And so, consider certainly this, what's going on here. Where are we? We've got to be uncomfortable with ideas, okay? In order to truly learn, we have to be uncomfortable with some of the new ideas. And I'm not, certainly I don't want you to be so uncomfortable that you shut down and you can't participate in anything. That would be problematic. But I do want you to, to struggle with some things. I know I do. I struggle with some things. So, the example here is that this past year was one of the first years that I had students reading The Heart of Darkness saying, yeah, it's racist. But, first of all, I know who I am. I'm a white dude. And so I know because of the fact that I'm a white dude that I am certainly not always going to be able to see racism when it occurs. At the same time, I'm a white dude and I can see the misogyny that exists in that book. And so does it mean that I'm blind to the racism in that text? Or is it that I'm capable of seeing that there's racism in the text, but that it's not about being racist, if that makes sense? And certainly, we're going to have opportunities to talk about these sorts of things when we read that text and when we read some other books that we're going to be reading this year. I have not decolonized our syllabus. But we want to be able to talk about issues that maybe make some of us uncomfortable, particularly those who traditionally are of the hegemonic power, the people who have held power for a very long period of time. So not only am I a white dude, but I'm a middle-aged white dude. And I've got, all kinds of things that are going for me. I'm heterosexual, I'm cisgender male. I'm married. I've got the benefits of owning a home, car payments. I've got children. And so we are all bringing different things to the party of AP Lit. You are bringing things to this party as well. So even though you're not coming in through my door right now, the way that you present yourselves and the things that you have and that make up who you are, those things inform how you go about reading and interpreting literature. And so I want you to keep that in mind, that you are going to be bringing things to our reading that I have never seen before, even though in some cases there are texts that I've read many, many times. So in the case of like A Heart of Darkness, I've read that 11 times in the past 11 years. And certainly the first time that I read it as a teacher is way different from the first time that I read it as a student. You'll be able to teach me things, and hopefully I'm going to be teaching you some things as well. So there's going to be some discomfort. I'm going to skip this paragraph here in our agenda, and I want you to take a look at, and some of you are familiar with this, I know, Katie specifically. I want you to look at this first paragraph from Jane Eyre. And let me make it a little bit bigger on my screen. There was no possibility of taking a walk that day. We had been wandering, indeed, in the leafless shrubbery an hour in the morning. But since dinner, Mrs. Reed, when there was no company, dined early. The cold winter wind had brought with it clouds so somber and a rain so penetrating that further outdoor exercise was now out of the question. So, first of all, within this paragraph, we're getting a wonderful setup in terms of our setting, and it's more about the season than anything else. So one of the chapters in How to Read Literature Like a Professor is geography matters, and then its follow-up is so does season. And so the season matters. There's another paragraph or another chapter in here titled "It's More Than Just Rain or Snow." And so what season is it within the paragraph? It's a ridiculous question. It's right there, but go ahead. Winter. Okay. And what is the precipitation here?
Rain.
What kind of rain?
Like a downpour of sorts.
Okay. Anything else to describe that rain or the weather?
It's really cold.
It's really cold. So it's not cold enough for that rain to be snow, but it is a penetrating winter rain. Think about that. And being a child and wanting to be able to go outdoors under those circumstances or on a day like that. And, it's somber, it's cloudy, it's not sunny. And so what is the general mood that's being created by the setting with this first paragraph?
It's pretty depressing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, think about just little things like that have an impact. So then I want to show you this. And again, it's just the first paragraph. The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play. So we sat in the house all that cold, cold, wet day. The first paragraph, the first page of The Cat in the Hat, is the exact same beginning as Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, written in the middle of the 19th century. Did Dr. Seuss have Jane Eyre in mind when he sat down to write about this cat in the hat that comes to bother whatever the kids' names are, Sally and the little boy? Probably not, but there are things that we've encountered. I want to encourage you to recognize as we're reading the connections that you are able to make, that you're bringing to the party. Is anyone not familiar with The Cat in the Hat? So, I think it was maybe the second or third time that I read Jane Eyre that I was like, this seems really familiar. And so if you think that there's a thing for you, and conveniently I had small children at my house, and the Cat in the Hat was particularly fresh in my mind. Trust yourself, trust your instincts. If you think that you see something, trust that maybe that's a thing that's actually kind of there, and don't be afraid to talk about it. So there's only like 4 minutes left. Thanks, sound. But let me see if we can figure out how we're going to proceed here. So what I'd like you to do, okay, so you might want to write this down somewhere for yourself. What I'd like for you to do, certainly read these 2 articles, Literary Fiction and Empathy, The Secret of My Success. So 2 articles, they're pretty short. Read them, think about them. And then, so you're going to need to apply those 2. And we're going to take a look at, we're not going to be able to do Google Breakout Meets. So you're going to have to get in touch via email with the person whose number corresponds with yours. Okay, so everybody's in a group. And if it turns out that you're not in a group, you'll want to let me know as soon as you can today, so that I can put you in a group and get you everybody's email address. And so you're going to have to do this collaboratively and virtually in the same way that Gold Day did, because I was out of town and moving my daughter into school. And I'm asking you to create a slide for a slideshow. And within that slideshow, I want you to be thinking about what it means to be anti-intellectual, and some of the things that I just kind of lectured you on in terms of how we want to go about reading in this class, reading literature in this class. And so there are 4 kind of elements that I want you to put on each slide. And so the first, if somebody's a computer graphics person and can do like some kind of image, that'd be great, and you can put that art on your slide. Or alternatively, if you're probably all whizzes at Google searches and you want to embed an image into the slide, you're welcome to do that instead. And the image should be a literal image, what you picture in your mind of what it would be like to take an undergraduate literature course. What is it that those people are going to be doing in an undergraduate lit course in a non-virtual setting? So my daughter just discovered that 3/5 of her classes are going to be online now, and hopefully no more. Hopefully she'll be able to at least have 2 face-to-face kinds of sessions. So what are then the expectations that go along with what you envision? And that can be in words. What does it mean to analyze literature at the college level? So that's going to be element number 3, and just an answer to that question. And what does it mean, those 3 things, that we will not do in this class, in AP Lit, given all of those things? Ordinarily, this would be a poster with like 4 different quadrants, 1 for each of those elements. I don't know, how creative you're going to be able to do with the Google Slides. This is an experiment for us. But I want to see what you're able to come up with virtually and collaboratively under the circumstances that we can't be here and meet face to face. And we'll see, kind of what we've got, what we're working with at the beginning of our next class. There's other homework beyond creating a slide. And it's mostly fun. There's some reading that's kind of going on here, but it's mostly fun, and I think hopefully you'll have some fun with it. But I want, next time to find out what the answers to your questions are about the homework. And then just some other info at the very end, 2 opportunities that exist. This weekend, we've got a Midsummer Night's Dream being performed virtually. And so if you happen to read that over the summer for your summer reading, you might want to watch it. and a friend of mine happens to be in it. And University of Chicago sent some other webinars that they've got coming up. And those will take place at 8 o'clock our time. I don't know if I put, So this one on September 1st, that starts at 8 our time, not at 7. And then this one here starts at 1 o'clock our time, not at noon. If you've got questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat. And Abby, that's a great question. Can you use more than one slide? I'd prefer for you to try to put it all on one slide, and that's a lot. If it turns out that we end up, having to do more than one slide, that will be acceptable. I've got to be flexible on this. I've never done anything like this before. If you've got a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Or if you need to speak with me during open office hours at the end of the day, you can do that as well. Otherwise, you're free to go. We're past our time. So cheers. Have a great day.